Hello, I'm Bruce Goldstein. I'm president of Farmworker Justice in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the Facebook program series, The State of Farmworkers in America in the COVID-19 era. Farm workers have been designated essential workers to ensure our nation's food security during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet their working and living conditions create grave risks to their health and economic status. These programs raise awareness about the serious challenges the pandemic imposes on farm workers and their family members each and every day. The series identifies impactful work and innovative ideas being carried out by Farmworker Justice and other organizations that represent and serve farm workers. Now, let's turn to our guest. I am very pleased to introduce our guest for today, Teresa Romero. Teresa Romero is the president of the United Farm Workers. Begun in 1962 by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, the United Farm Workers is the nation's first enduring and largest farm worker union. The UFW has collective bargaining agreements with major agricultural producers on the West Coast. The union also has been successful in winning major labor law reforms in California. Farmworker Justice collaborates extensively with the United Farm Workers on advocacy in Congress and the administration on immigration, labor, and on COVID-19 issues. Teresa, who is an immigrant from Mexico, was elevated to be president of the United Farm Workers in 2018 after serving as the union's #2 officer. Teresa, thank you very much for joining our series, The State of Farm Workers in the COVID-19 era.
Thank you very much for having me, Bruce. I'm very happy to be here with you. Like you said, we've always known farm workers are essential workers. Because of COVID-19, it means that the federal government now recognizes them as essential workers. Unfortunately, many farm workers do not even have the basic rights, let alone the rights that other essential workers have. I am very honored and happy to work with you and Farmworker Justice. You have been a partner for us for a long time, and we truly appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Teresa. So for those watching who may not be familiar with the United Farm Workers, please tell us about the mission of the UFW today, who it represents, and how it fulfills that mission.
You know, our mission is a fair and just food supply. Like you said earlier, for almost 60 years, the UFW has fought to protect farm workers, to ensure the rights of all of them. Farm workers, dairy workers, poultry workers that are protected through collective bargaining agreements. Many workers under contract, have the benefits of a medical plan, paid sick, vacation days. Through our legislative work and the partnership with Farmworker Justice, last December, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act was passed by partisan support by the U.S. Congress, something that has never happened before. This is a first step, and when successful, this bill will grant farm workers and their families the opportunity to receive legalization in this country and continue to work, if they continue to work in agriculture, which we know that they will. You know, that's their profession, that's what they do, and it would be just a life-changing for them and their families.
Yes, we are working very hard together to pass the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, HR 5038, which was passed by the House of Representatives on December 11th, and now we need the Senate to pass that bill. So the union has members in California and Washington, as well as collaborative organizations in other states. What are you hearing from farm workers about the risks they face with COVID-19?
You know, unfortunately, many farm workers that are not under contract are not being informed of how to protect themselves. Their employers are not sharing the information or putting in place safety measures to protect the workers and to protect the spread of COVID-19. The workers, face challenges. now that the children are not in school, they have the choice to either leave the kids at home, bring them to work, or not go to work, which is unfortunately not something that they can afford because they are the sole providers of their family. We have in many cases single mothers who are providing for their children, and there is impossible for them not to go to work. And now the Trump administration is threatening to reduce farm worker pay. What else can we throw at these workers that they can, so they can continue providing the work that they do and feeding our country? It is just, what we're trying to do is keep them informed, keep them safe, communicate with them, understand what they're going, and try to find some solutions for their issues.
Thank you. Yes, it is really disconcerting to hear from farmer groups around the country, including the United Farm Workers, that so many farm workers are not getting information they need, are not getting protections like social distancing, adequate hand washing facilities. We know that there are some employers that are adopting important safety standards, but too often we're hearing the opposite.
Unfortunately.
So, yeah. So please tell our listeners and followers what actions the United Farm Workers Union and its members have been taking to help farm workers prevent COVID-19 and to address the illness if they are diagnosed with it.
You know, we're making sure farm workers communities have the accurate information. Unfortunately, throughout the U.S. and Mexico, there is a lot of bad information or misinformation. We have worked to get people accurate data, accurate information of how to protect themselves, about the risks, about this sanitation efforts that we can take to help reduce the spread. We are collecting, buying, getting donated protective equipment like masks that we're giving and donating to the workers. We are providing good information in our UFW Spanish and indigenous languages through our social media. Unfortunately, many of farm workers who are here don't even speak Spanish, so it's even more difficult for them. Our sister organizations like Radio Campesina and our website and sister organizations like the UFW Foundation are providing not only information, but we're providing food. We're providing food in different areas. And I encourage you to visit sisepuede.org to get more information on that. This information includes access to childcare, how to get food support, updates on new support for tenants and homeowners, etc. We're listening to farm workers, trying to understand where their needs are, and we're looking for solutions to provide that help.
Thank you. Yeah, and some people and volunteers formed groups to make masks, and some of them have offered, they've asked Farmworker Justice, are there places to send them to? So we work with a lot of other groups around the country, so we've identified a few groups, and they said, yeah, as many face masks as they would make for us, we would take. So it's a real need. And people can contact us as well, both the UFW and Farmworker Justice. Farmworkerjustice.org is our website. You can email us at connect@farmworkerjustice.org. So let me turn now to the government policy efforts that the UFW has been engaged in. We talked a little bit about immigration reform, but I know that in California, in Washington State, and in Congress and in the federal administration, you, with some help from us at Farmworker Justice, have been advocating for policies that help farm workers address COVID-19.
Absolutely. And like I said earlier, Farmworker Justice have been a great partner to the UFW in improving the lives of farm workers and working together. As you know, our biggest public policy campaign has been to win sick pay for farm workers. If we are to stop the spread of COVID-19, farm workers need to have the ability to stay home, but have paid days. If they don't have that, they're not going to stay home. They're going to go to work because they have needs that we understand. Many people don't understand. As you know, a couple of weeks ago, Governor Newsom made sure that all farm workers, including those at companies with more than 5 employees, will receive at least 10 days of paid sick leave. And if you are working from home, if I'm working from home to protect ourselves, to protect the public, the farm workers should have the ability also to protect themselves and the family. So for us, this has been a very key policy to pass. We're also working with the governor of Washington and trying to make sure that they get also these benefits. Federally, it makes no sense for the federal government to give over $16 billion to growers for COVID relief unless farm workers are able to receive some of that money for sick pay. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to control in the agricultural industry the spread of this virus.
Right, and you've had some serious success in California with the governor, with the state legislature that we've not had federally, with Congress or the Trump administration. So you mentioned the paid sick leave. The new federal law doesn't apply to businesses with more than 500 people or businesses with fewer than 50 people. And so a lot of farm workers get left out. Another example of the work we're doing together is around the unemployment compensation. Congress expanded access to unemployment compensation, which helps a lot of farm workers, but excludes several 100,000 farm workers because the unemployment compensation does not apply to undocumented immigrants. And a majority of farm workers are undocumented. So all these growers that are saying, we lost our business with restaurants, so we don't have jobs, for the farm workers at those kinds of farms who are unemployed, they've got no relief. So we're all working together on a lot of policy fronts. Let me ask you, what you hope will happen over the next few weeks and what you think is going to happen. We're getting concerned because we're starting to see reports of COVID-19 among farm workers just in the last week or so. Earlier, there were very, very few reports, but the seasons are just beginning for a lot of farm workers. So we're worried that the COVID-19 is yet to arrive in many farm worker communities, and it will take a lot of work to respond to it. I wanted to get your views on that.
Bruce, that is so true. The season has not even started yet. And our fear is that because farm workers are not being educated and informed, they're going to continue to work until they have the information they need and the sick pay that they deserve. We sent an open letter to growers that are not under contract, asking them to work together with us so we can protect farm workers, so we can let them know what it is that they have to do. It's not a choice. It's not, you and I are working remotely. Farm workers in the fields can't pick strawberries remotely, can't milk cows via Zoom. This is something that we need to address, the growers need to address. Unfortunately, we have not had many positive responses or even responses from these growers. But unless we do that, the agricultural industry is going to suffer tremendously. And as you know, farm workers are professionals, and not all of us can do this work. Not all of us understand these professions. And if we do not protect these workers, if the growers are not willing to come to the table and talk to us and figure out how we can do it, a lot more people are going to die. A lot more farm workers and their families are going to die.
And our organizations work with some others that are actually able to speak with and collaborate with some agricultural employers. You do it through collective bargaining. We also do it together through corporate responsibility projects like the Equitable Food Initiative.
Correct.
There are employers that are willing to communicate effectively about what farm workers need and enable farm workers to have a voice in their workplace so they can speak up and say, look, this is what we need to respond to COVID-19.
That is correct. I applaud those growers because they understand the importance of protecting their workers. I would ask them to reach out to others, to reach out to the biggest growers in this country and ask them to do the same. When you have a farm where you have, or a grower where you have thousands of workers, if we're not protected, many of those thousands of workers are going to get infected.
Right. Well, before I let you have some closing comments, let me thank you, first of all, for joining us. We really appreciate the opportunity to have you on our show. I want to tell our listeners that there's a wealth of information on our website, farmworkerjustice.org. We have a dedicated page to COVID-19. We also have a lot of information about the safety and health of farm workers, as well as on immigration policy, including what we're supporting and what we're opposing, including our opposition to these wage cuts that are being discussed by some members of Congress and the administration. We want to point out that Farmworker Justice is a not-for-profit organization that depends on the support of generous donors, and we encourage people to visit our website and social media sites and make a charitable donation, a tax-deductible donation to Farmworker Justice, so that we can continue this valuable work and hopefully, once we hopefully get past the worst of the COVID-19, make some progress. Now that farm workers have been officially designated as essential workers to our food security by the federal government and by state governments, perhaps we can start to end the discrimination in labor laws and end the abuses that are so widespread and affect so many farm workers. So to our listeners, we hope you'll join us in not only addressing COVID-19 for farm workers, but also in the long-term struggle for farm worker justice. So Teresa, please let us know if you have some closing comments.
Yes, and thank you very much for having me here, Bruce. I think our working relationship has been key to achieve the progress that we have achieved. I know there's a lot that needs to be done, but working with partners like you who truly understand the needs of farm workers and care of what needs to be done, it is amazing, and I thank you for that. As you know, we are going to continue to work with state and federal legislators to ensure farm workers, their families, and their communities are protected. If you think about it, farm workers are part of their communities in rural areas. Not only farm workers and their families, but the growers, their families. They go shopping in the same place. They worship in the same place. They live in the same communities. So we need to work together to protect farm workers, their families, and the communities they live in. And I know there's a lot of people out there, and you and I know it. You and I know how much support they have given to our movement and to our cause. So we're thankful for the things that they do and the support that they give us. And it is not something that we're going to be able to solve overnight. We're here for the long run, and I appreciate partnerships like you with Farmworker Justice, Bruce. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Teresa. We'll see you all in our next show tomorrow. So long.